The scanner array flickered with readings that made no sense to anyone watching. Rillan tapped the display twice, convinced the equipment had finally given up after 3 decades of service. Numbers scrolled across his screen showing mass displacement that would require a vessel larger than any council station. He called over his supervisor without taking his eyes off the impossible data. Methos arrived within seconds, her 4 arms moving efficiently as she checked calibrations. The Drevari female had seen enough false alarms to remain skeptical, but something in Rillan's voice made her thorough. She ran diagnostics 3 times before accepting what the sensors reported. Something enormous was approaching the neutral zone at speeds that violated every understanding of physics. The diplomatic station hummed with sudden activity as junior staff rushed to alert their superiors. Ambassador Quellen received the news while reviewing trade agreements, his translator device struggling to convey his species' equivalent of panic. The peaceful Drevari had built their entire civilization on conflict avoidance. Now something unknown and massive was heading directly toward their gathering of galaxy's leaders. Military advisor Brex from the warrior Brudatch species reviewed tactical displays with growing concern. His people had conquered 17 systems through superior combat doctrine. They recognized threat profiles better than anyone. What approached registered as a weapons platform capable of cracking planetary shields. He ordered defensive formations immediately. Supreme Commander Varos arrived in the command center as alerts cascaded through every system. The ancient Quellari leader had overseen council operations for 40 cycles. He had managed disputes between hundreds of species and prevented countless wars through patient diplomacy. Nothing in his experience prepared him for readings suggesting a single ship with firepower exceeding their entire defense fleet. The vessel dropped from faster-than-light travel exactly where predicted. Visual confirmation made several technicians gasp audibly. The ship stretched over 8 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull covered in armor plating thick enough to survive stellar impacts. Weapon ports dotted its surface like scales on a predator. Energy signatures indicated shields powerful enough to deflect asteroids. Designation appeared on screens throughout the station: UCNS Retribution, Omega-class Dreadnought. The name alone sent ripples of concern through diplomatic channels. Council ships carried names like Harmony's Promise and Peaceful Venture. This vessel announced intentions through its very identity. Inside Retribution's command center, Captain Rachel Boyd studied approach vectors while her crew worked in practice silence. The human officer had commanded 3 different vessels during her career. None prepared her for helming humanity's most advanced warship into first contact. Earth Command had chosen Retribution specifically to demonstrate human technological capability. Boyd questioned that decision every hour since departure. Her communications officer looked up from his station with confusion evident on his face. Multiple targeting locks were painting Retribution from every council vessel in range. Defensive formations suggested they expected hostile action. Boyd felt her stomach sink as understanding dawned. Earth Command had sent a warship to establish diplomatic relations. The Council saw an invasion force. She ordered immediate broadcast on all frequencies. The message contained standard peaceful greetings and requests for dialogue. Response came within seconds. Supreme Commander Varos demanded they power down all weapons systems and prepare for inspection. His tone carried barely controlled alarm. Boyd realized how badly first contact had deteriorated before it even began. Her tactical officer reported council ships forming blockade positions. Lighter vessels moved to flanking positions while heavier cruisers held center formation. It was textbook defensive doctrine against superior single opponent. Boyd had studied similar tactics at Academy. She knew what came next if tensions escalated further. Boyd opened direct channel to Council flagship. She spoke slowly and clearly, trying to convey peaceful intentions through tone alone. She explained that Earth protocol required military vessels for all first contact scenarios. Humanity had learned through bitter experience never to enter unknown situations without adequate protection. The galaxy had proven dangerous to species lacking strength to defend themselves. Varos listened but clearly remained unconvinced. He demanded to know why peaceful contact required a vessel capable of destroying worlds. Boyd struggled to explain human history. Centuries of warfare had taught humanity that peace required strength. Only when Earth unified under threat of mutual destruction did global peace finally take hold. Humans projected that lesson outward to the stars. The standoff continued for tense minutes as neither side backed down. Council vessels maintained targeting locks while Retribution's crew kept weapons on standby. One mistake from either side would trigger catastrophe. Boyd could see the disaster unfolding in slow motion. Then new alerts screamed through both fleets simultaneously. Jump signatures materialized at the edge of sensor range. Multiple vessels emerged in attack formation. Council sensors identified them immediately. Krath Dominion warships, the slavers and raiders who had been expelled from Council space generations ago. They had returned with a fleet. Varos opened emergency channels demanding immediate reinforcements from Council systems. Response time meant no help would arrive for hours. His defense fleet faced overwhelming numbers. The Supreme Commander faced impossible choice: trust unknown humans or watch everything burn. Boyd saw opportunity in crisis. She broadcast again to Varos. Retribution could help defend the Council if allowed. Her crew was trained and ready. Their weapons could turn the tide. She asked nothing in return except chance to prove human intentions through actions rather than words. Krath vessels accelerated toward diplomatic station. Their war leader broadcast surrender demands. Council had 30 minutes to comply or face annihilation. Varos looked at tactical displays showing his outmatched fleet. He looked at the massive human warship offering aid. He made the hardest decision of his long career. "Captain Boyd," his voice came through clearly despite obvious stress. "The Council accepts your offer. Show us what humans can do." Boyd smiled grimly and turned to her crew. "All stations combat ready. Let's give them a demonstration they will never forget." Retribution surged forward as its weapons came online. The real first contact was about to begin. Krath warships moved with confidence born from centuries of successful raids. Their fleet commander had crushed resistance from dozens of species. Council forces always scattered when faced with real violence. Today would be no different. The slaves and resources would flow back to Dominion space as they always did. Tactical displays showed Council vessels reforming behind the massive human ship. Krath analysts studied the newcomer with interest. The vessel's size impressed them, but size meant nothing without will to use it. Many species built impressive ships, then hesitated at actual combat. The Krath never hesitated. Rachel Boyd reviewed final attack solutions while her crew worked through pre-combat checks. Every system reported green across the board. Retribution was built for exactly this kind of engagement. Multiple targets, extended combat, overwhelming firepower. Earth engineers had designed her to fight entire fleets alone if necessary. Her weapons officer confirmed target locks on 37 Krath vessels. Point defense grids tracked incoming missiles. Electronic warfare systems prepared to blind enemy sensors. First Officer Daniel Ross coordinated with Council ships, assigning them support positions. The combined fleet would need perfect timing. Krath War leader broadcast his final warning. Supreme Commander Varos had 5 minutes to surrender. After that, the station would be destroyed along with everyone aboard. Diplomatic immunity meant nothing to Dominion forces. They took what they wanted through strength. Council weakness invited exploitation. Boyd let the timer count down to 1 minute remaining. She wanted the Krath fully committed to their attack run, wanted them close enough that retreat would be difficult. Predators became prey when circumstances shifted. Humans understood that lesson better than most. "All weapons free," she ordered calmly. "Execute pattern Delta 7. Retribution's rail cannons spoke first. Magnetic accelerators launched tungsten rounds at fractional light speed. The projectiles crossed distance between fleets in heartbeats. 3 Krath cruisers exploded before their crews realized they were under fire. debris scattered across attack formation. Point defense lasers created network of deadly light as Krath missiles arrived. Thousands of interceptors tracked and destroyed incoming warheads. A few penetrated the defensive screen. Retribution's shields absorbed them without visible strain. Human defensive doctrine emphasized layered protection. Break through one system only to encounter another. Krath War leader demanded status reports while watching his formation dissolve. The human ship moved impossibly fast for its mass. Drives that powerful should require energy sources detectable from systems away. Yet the vessel maneuvered like a fighter while maintaining battleship armor. Nothing in Dominion experience matched this capability. Boyd ordered Ross to coordinate the Council vessels. Lighter ships harassed Krath flanks while heavier cruisers provided covering fire. The combined tactics worked because humans adapted to fighting alongside unfamiliar allies. Earth's united fleet incorporated hundreds of cultural approaches to warfare. Flexibility was doctrine. More Krath ships died as Retribution's missile batteries added their fury. Smart warheads tracked targets through evasive maneuvers, shaped charges designed to defeat specific armor types. Each missile carried enough explosive force to cripple a frigate. Boyd had unleashed hundreds. The Krath formation broke apart as casualties mounted. War leader screamed orders to concentrate fire on the human ship. If they destroyed the massive vessel, Council forces would collapse. Dominion victory could still be salvaged. 20 warships focused everything on Retribution. Energy weapons struck shields in cascading bursts of light. Mass drivers hurled rounds that would pulverize lesser armor. Missile swarms blackened space around the human dreadnought. For 30 seconds, Retribution disappeared inside a firestorm of directed violence. Council observers held collective breath watching the assault. Surely nothing could survive such concentrated attack. Several species began preparing evacuation protocols. Ambassador Quellen closed his eyes, unwilling to witness the human sacrifice. Retribution emerged from the conflagration scarred but functional. Shield generators glowed white-hot from overload. Hull plating showed scoring from near misses. But the ship remained combat effective. Boyd checked damage reports. Nothing critical hit. Her engineering teams were already rerouting power around damaged systems. Target their command ship, she ordered. Nova Lance full charge. Every sensor in the combat zone registered the energy buildup. Power levels exceeded anything in Council records. Krath sensors screamed warnings as they detected the charge. War leader ordered emergency evasive maneuvers. Too late. The Nova Lance fired. Focused particle beam crossed distance instantaneously. The stream of accelerated matter struck Krath flagship dead center. Shields collapsed. Armor vaporized. The beam punched completely through the vessel and continued into 4 ships behind it. 5 Krath warships died in a single shot. Silence fell across tactical channels. Both sides processed what they had witnessed. A weapon that could delete multiple targets with one trigger pull. The implications staggered military minds across the engagement zone. Boyd broadcast to remaining Krath vessels. This is Captain Rachel Boyd of Earth Ship Retribution. You have 10 seconds to begin retreat before I fire again. Your choice. Krath discipline evaporated. Surviving ships scattered in every direction. War leader abandoned his position as crew fought for escape pods. Within minutes, the attack fleet had become fleeing survivors. Council space was clear. Varos stared at displays showing impossible human victory. His fleet had lost 3 ships. The humans had destroyed or routed a force 5 times their size. He opened channel to Boyd. Captain, the Council owes you and your people tremendous debt. Please join us aboard the station. We have much to discuss. Boyd accepted the invitation while ordering her crew to maintain alert status. First contact had begun with misunderstanding and evolved through combat. Now came the hardest part. She had to explain to the Council why Earth sent warships instead of diplomats. Had to make them understand that humans viewed strength and peace as inseparable concepts. Retribution settled into orbital position above the diplomatic station. Weapon systems powered down but remained ready. Boyd prepared to face leaders of galactic civilization. She hoped they would understand. Humanity had seen what happened to peaceful species in a violent universe. Earth refused to become another victim. Council chambers filled with representatives from 43 species, each bringing their own perspective on the human problem. Some viewed Boyd as a savior. Others saw humanity as a greater threat than the Krath. The debate had raged for hours while Rachel Boyd waited outside under guard. She could hear raised voices through the thick doors. Ambassador Quellen led the opposition faction. His people had maintained peace for millennia through careful negotiation. Violence was always the last resort. Humans seemed to embrace it as first option. They arrived in a warship, he argued to the assembly. They destroyed an entire fleet without hesitation. What civilization leads with such aggression? Brex, the Brudach military advisor, countered from his position. A civilization that understands reality, the Krath have. Raided our borders for generations. We negotiated, we pleaded, we offered tribute. They took everything and demanded more. One human ship accomplished what our entire fleet could not. A young Quellari diplomat named Celine stood to address the chamber. She represented a generation raised on stories of council unity. We face a choice, she began carefully. Reject humanity for their methods or accept that our methods have failed. The Krath would have enslaved this station today without human intervention. Are we so proud that we cannot acknowledge our weakness? Supreme Commander Varos listened to arguments from all sides. His long career taught him that truth usually lay between extremes. Humans were neither saviors nor monsters. They were something the Council had not encountered before. A species that weaponized mercy, that protected through strength. He needed to understand them better before making judgment. He ordered Boyd brought into the chamber. The human captain entered flanked by Council security. She wore her uniform with quiet dignity, neither arrogant nor apologetic. Varos gestured to the speaking platform. Captain Boyd, help us understand, why does humanity approach peace through warfare? Rachel took a moment to organize her thoughts. This moment would define human-alien relations for generations. Because we learned the price of weakness, she began. Earth was divided for most of our history. Thousands of cultures competed for resources. Wars consumed entire generations. Billions died in conflicts that solved nothing. The chamber remained silent as she continued. Eventually, we developed weapons capable of destroying our entire species, nuclear fire that could end civilization in hours. We stood at the brink of extinction. Every nation held doomsday weapons aimed at each other. One mistake would have ended humanity forever. Quellen interrupted. Yet you survived. Surely that proves war is not inevitable. Boyd met his eyes. We survived because everyone feared everyone else equally. Mutual destruction kept the peace, not diplomacy, not good intentions. Fear of consequences. Only when every power could annihilate every other power did talking become preferable to fighting. She gestured to the displays showing retribution. That ship represents our philosophy. We carry overwhelming force not to use it, but to prevent others from forcing us to use it. Predators like the Krath. Understand only strength. Show weakness and they strike. Show fangs and they hesitate. Brex nodded in agreement. The Brutach understand this. We conquered our enemies, then made them partners. Respect through strength leads to lasting peace. The Council has forgotten this truth. Celine spoke up again. Captain Boyd, you saved Council lives today, but your people possess weapons that terrify us. The Nova Lance alone could destroy our worlds. How can we trust humanity with such power? Rachel considered the question carefully. Because we have already faced that temptation and rejected it. Earth unified not through conquest, but through choice. Every nation retained sovereignty. We built a world government through consensus. The weapons exist to protect that peace, not to enforce it. She pulled up historical data on her personal display. These are Earth's nuclear stockpiles over time. At our peak, we held enough weapons to destroy our planet 50 times over. Today, we maintain less than 5% of that arsenal. We chose to disarm because the weapons served their purpose. They prevented their own use. Varros studied the data with growing understanding. You maintain military power while reducing actual weapons. How is this possible? Technology, Boyd explained. We invested in precision over mass destruction. Better to have one ship like Retribution than 100 cruisers with nuclear missiles. Quality replaces quantity. Capability without excess. We can defend ourselves without threatening galactic civilization. The explanation sparked intense debate among council members. Some species found the logic compelling, others remained suspicious. Ambassador Quellen pressed further. Captain, what happens when humanity encounters species that cannot defend themselves? Will you conquer them as the Brutach did? Rachel shook her head firmly. Earth's history taught us that conquest creates endless rebellion. Occupied people never truly submit. They wait for opportunity to strike back. Real peace requires willing partnership. We defend the defenseless because it serves our interests. Stable galaxy benefits everyone, including humanity. Before Quellen could respond, alarms screamed through the station. Tactical displays lit up with new contacts. Sensors detected vessels emerging at the system's edge. Not Krath this time, something else, something older. Varros accessed command channels. Immediately, reports flooded in from monitoring stations. Unknown ships entering Council space across multiple vectors. Energy signatures matched nothing in the database. Organic-mechanical hybrid construction. Vessels that seemed to grow rather than being built. Boyd checked her own tactical feed from Retribution. Her crew had already analyzed the new contacts. She read the report twice before believing it. Commander Varros, Earth intelligence knows these ships. We call them the Voidborn Collective. They are an ancient race that views all spacefaring civilizations as contamination to be purged. The chamber erupted in chaos. Quellen demanded proof. Brex called for immediate military mobilization. Celine pulled up historical records. Ancient Quellari texts mentioned the Void Hunters from before recorded history. They had driven Council ancestors into hiding for generations. Varros raised his voice above the disorder. Captain Boyd, can Retribution stop these invaders as you stop the Krath? Rachel studied the tactical data. Void-born vessels numbered in hundreds, more arrived every minute. Her ship could kill dozens before being overwhelmed. No commander, not alone. But if you give me authority to coordinate your fleet with Earth reinforcements, we might have a chance. The question is whether the Council can accept human leadership. Every eye in the chamber turned to Varros. The Supreme Commander faced the defining decision of his career. Varros stood at the observation deck watching void-born vessels spread across his sensors like infection. Each ship pulsed with sickly bioluminescence. Organic hulls grown from consumed matter. The ancient texts described them perfectly. An enemy that assimilated rather than conquered, that absorbed civilizations into itself. Behind him, Ambassador Quellen argued desperately for traditional Council response. We should evacuate and regroup, fall back to core systems and establish defensive perimeter. We have protocols for this scenario. Protocols written before the Voidborn vanished, Brex countered harshly. You want to run from enemy we barely understand. They will follow us to every world, consume every population, running delays the inevitable. Rachel Boyd studied tactical projections on multiple displays. Earth intelligence had tracked Voidborn for decades after discovering abandoned worlds, planets stripped to bedrock, populations gone without trace. The collective left nothing behind. She understood Brex was right. This required confrontation. 5 more human warships are inbound, she reported to the assembled leaders. Heavy battleships and carrier vessels, combined with Council fleet, we can establish killing ground, force Voidborn to fight on our terms rather than theirs. Celine accessed historical archives. Ancient records show Voidborn adapt to enemy tactics. They learn from combat. Conventional warfare becomes useless as they counter every strategy. Boyd nodded. Earth intelligence confirmed this. They captured and analyzed one of our scout ships. Within weeks, they developed countermeasures to our weapons. We cannot fight extended campaign. Need to hit hard before they adapt to human technology. Varros made his decision. Captain Boyd, I grant you tactical authority over combined forces. Ambassador Quellen, begin civilian evacuation of border worlds. Brex, coordinate Council fleet integration with human vessels. We defend here or lose everything. Quellen protested. Commander, you give aliens control of our military. This violates every Council charter. We have no guarantee humans will not turn those weapons on us after the Voidborn are defeated. Then we die free rather than as part of that. Varros gestured at the writhing mass of Voidborn ships. I choose to trust Ambassador. I suggest you do the same. Earth reinforcements arrived in spectacular fashion. 5 massive vessels dropped from faster than light simultaneously. The battleships dwarfed even Retribution. The carrier vessel launched hundreds of strike craft, fighter wings that moved with predatory grace, each pilot trained to standards that made Council aces look cautious. Admiral Harper commanded the Earth Task Force from battleship Indomitable. She established connection with Boyd immediately. Rachel, good work establishing contact. Shame about the shooting, but that was always likely. What is our tactical situation? Boyd transmitted full analysis. Voidborn main fleet advancing on 3 fronts. Estimate we have 72 hours before they reach Council core worlds. Civilian evacuation proceeding but will not complete in time. Recommend we establish defensive line here at the Barrier Nebula, restrict their approach vectors. Harper agreed. Council ships capable of following human combat doctrine. Mixed, Boyd admitted. Brutach warriors understand aggressive tactics, other species struggling with the concept of acceptable casualties. They have never fought total war. Then we teach them fast, Harper ordered. Begin integration training immediately. Anyone who cannot keep up stays in reserve. We need ships that will close to knife-fighting range, not hang back and hope. The next 60 hours tested everyone's limits. Human officers drilled Council crews relentlessly, teaching them to think like predators rather than prey, to accept losses as price of victory. Some species adapted quickly. Brutach warriors thrived under human methods, others struggled with the philosophical shift. Council Captain Nuren commanded cruiser Steadfast Honor. His people were peaceful traders, 3 generations without conflict. Now humans demanded he fly into weapons range deliberately. Accept damage to deliver killing blow. Everything in his training screamed this was suicide. Boyd visited his ship personally. Captain Nuren, I understand this is difficult. Your people are not warriors by nature, but the Voidborn will not negotiate. They will consume your world and everyone you love. We can teach you to fight, or you can watch them die. Nuren struggled with the truth. How do your people accept this? The certainty that many will not return? How do you order your crew to die? By being willing to die first, Boyd answered quietly. Human commanders lead from the front. We ask nothing we would not do ourselves, and we remember that some deaths purchase lives for millions. That is the burden of command, the weight that never lifts. The conversation changed something in Nuren. He began drilling his crew harder, pushing them beyond comfort into capability. Other Council captains noticed. Standards rose across the combined fleet. Voidborn advance scouts probed the defensive line. Human fighters engaged in running battles, testing enemy capabilities. Every encounter provided data. Voidborn ships used directed energy weapons, particle beams that consumed matter at molecular level. Shields proved only partially effective. Armor ablated quickly under sustained fire. Boyd analyzed combat reports with growing concern. Their weapons are designed to break down physical matter. Standard armor is nearly useless. We need different approach. Harper had reached the same conclusion. Mobility becomes survival. Ships that stand and trade fire will die. We need to stay mobile, hit and fade. Tactics, use the nebula. Dense gas will disrupt their targeting. Council tactical officers protested. Human doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force and sustained fire. Now you suggest guerrilla warfare. This contradicts everything you taught us. Doctrine adapts to enemy, Harper explained. Against Krath, we could trade blows. They had physical limits. Voidborn regenerate. They heal damage faster than we can inflict it in conventional engagement. So we change the rules, make them fight our way. 72 hours elapsed. Voidborn main fleet arrived at the Barrier Nebula. Hundreds of organic warships that pulsed like beating hearts. They advanced in tight formation, expecting resistance, finding empty space. Then the ambush triggered. Human and Council ships emerged from nebula clouds at point-blank range, weapons blazing before Voidborn could react. The dance of death had begun. Fire filled space as hundreds of ships engaged at ranges measured in kilometers rather than light seconds. Voidborn vessels twisted impossibly, organic hulls flexing to absorb impacts. Their weapons carved through shields and armor with terrifying efficiency. Human ships dodged between nebula clouds, emerging to strike then vanishing before return fire could track them. Captain Nuren led his squadron through a textbook hit-and-fade. Steadfast Honor appeared from dense gas, fired full broadside into a Voidborn cruiser, then dove back into cover. His crew worked with precision born from desperate training. They had become warriors. Boyd coordinated the dance from Retribution. Hundreds of vessels moving in synchronized chaos. Holding formation would mean death. Constant movement kept Voidborn targeting systems confused. All ships converging strike on Sector 7. Execute in 3, 2, 1 mark. 20 vessels emerged simultaneously. Concentrated fire overwhelmed a Voidborn capital ship's regeneration. The organic hull collapsed. But 2 Council cruisers took critical damage in the exchange. One exploded. Crew of 400 gone in an instant. The other limped toward reserve position, trailing atmosphere. Admiral Harper watched casualty reports climb. They were winning tactically but losing strategically. Voidborn numbers seemed endless. For every ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. Rachel, we need to change the equation. Where is their command nexus? Cut off the head and the body dies. Boyd had been analyzing fleet. Patterns. Voidborn operated with hive coordination. Individual ships showed little autonomy. They are protecting something in their formation center. Massive energy signature. That has to be the nexus controlling the fleet. How massive? Harper asked. Dreadnought scale or larger, protected by at least 50 warships. Boyd pulled up tactical overlay. We would need to punch through the entire fleet to reach it. Harper smiled grimly. Then we punch through. Indomitable and Retribution spearhead. All heavy human vessels follow. Council ships provide screening fire. We go straight down their throat. Varos listened to the audacious plan from his command center. Admiral, you are proposing suicide run through enemy main strength. Your losses will be catastrophic. Better than slow death here, Harper replied. Commander, this is how humans win impossible battles. We make the other side bleed for every meter, make victory cost more than they want to pay. Most enemies quit. Voidborn cannot quit, so we end them. The attack began with human carriers launching every fighter. Strike craft swarmed Voidborn formation, drawing fire, creating chaos. Behind that screen, the battleship wedge formed. Retribution and Indomitable at the tip, 3 more heavy vessels in support. They accelerated to attack speed. Voidborn weapons concentrated on the advancing wedge. Energy beams carved through shields, armor boiled away under sustained fire. Retribution shuddered as hits penetrated to inner hull. Damage control teams fought fires and sealed breaches. People died at their stations. Ships kept advancing. Indomitable took massive hit amidships. One entire section vaporized. Atmosphere vented in explosive decompression. Harper rerouted power around the damage. All ships maintain course. We do not stop. We do not slow down. Council vessels followed the human lead. Nuren pushed steadfast on her beyond safety margins. His shields failed. His armor glowed red-hot. His crew never wavered. They had learned from humans that courage was not absence of fear. It was action despite fear. The wedge carved through void-borne lines, leaving wrecks in its wake. Smaller organic ships tried to block their path. Human weapons obliterated them. Nothing would stop this advance. Nothing could. They were committed now, forward to victory or death. The Nexus appeared on sensors, massive beyond any vessel in the engagement. A biomechanical monstrosity that pulsed with gathered consciousness. This thing coordinated the entire collective fleet. Boyd understood with horror what she was seeing. This was not a ship. It was a living repository. Every mind the Voidborn had ever consumed still existed within that thing. "Target the Nexus," she ordered. "All weapons, everything we have left." Retribution fired first. Nova Lance at full power. The particle beam struck Nexus shields. Energy discharge lit up the nebula. Shields held. Indomitable added its main batteries, quantum disruptors designed to tear apart molecular bonds. The Nexus armor cracked. Oily fluids leaked into space. Then the Nexus responded. Psychic assault hit every crew simultaneously. Alien consciousness tried to force its way into human and council minds, attempting to add them to the collective. Boyd felt pressure against her thoughts, whispers in languages she did not know, thousands of voices begging for release or commanding surrender. Human mental discipline training held. Earth had prepared for this possibility, meditation techniques. Mental walls, Boyd forced the voices back. Around her, crew did the same. Some failed, collapsed unconscious, but most endured. Council crews suffered worse. Unprepared for psychic warfare, dozens of minds succumbed. But they fought, showing courage to match any human. Nuren held his consciousness intact through sheer stubborn refusal to yield. The Nexus defenses were weakening. Combined fleet hammered at the failing shields. Cracks spread across organic armor. Deep inside, ancient minds screamed. Those absorbed millennia ago by the Voidborn, trapped in eternal suffering. Harper activated her final weapon, quantum cascade device, experimental technology that would tear apart molecular cohesion in targeted area. It would also vaporize any ship too close to the detonation. All vessels, emergency retreat, maximum burn, move now. The fleet scattered, Voidborn ships pursued. Harper kept indomitable on course, aimed directly at the Nexus. Boyd understood what the Admiral intended. "Harper, no, we can find another way." "No time," Harper transmitted calmly. "Get everyone home, Rachel. Tell them we died buying something worth the price." Indomitable accelerated to ramming speed, drove into the Nexus like a spear. The quantum device detonated. Reality twisted, matter unraveled. The Nexus and everything around it simply stopped. Existing, Voidborn ships throughout the battle zone went silent, drifting, their hive coordination severed forever. Boyd watched in silence, then ordered, "All ships finish it for Admiral Harper, for everyone we lost, end them." The battle became execution, disabled Voidborn vessels destroyed systematically. Within hours, the threat was eliminated, at terrible cost. Weeks later, Boyd stood before Council Assembly accepting honors she did not want. Varros spoke of alliance and partnership, of humans and council species united against the dark, of peace purchased through sacrifice. Rachel thought about Harper, about everyone who had died. She accepted that some things were worth dying for, but she would spend her life ensuring the galaxy remembered the price.